Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for dropping by. In today's video, we're actually on the test server doing some testing on a mastery actually that I've been wondering about for a long time. I've heard conflicting things about it, so I figured I would do pretty extensive testing on it to see for myself. So the mastery I'm talking about here is actually the Ruthless Ambush mastery. So this mastery right here, so it says increases damage inflicted by 8% for the first hit on each enemy. So first hit on each enemy. So I've heard that this bonus only applies to the actual first hit of the enemy. And then after that, there's no additional bonus for anybody else that has this mastery. Basically rendering this mastery good for only one champion on your team. I've heard that from many sources actually, so I'm not sure. Based on what I read, it feels like you get 8% bonus for the first hit on each enemy from this champion. So whenever this champion hits the enemy, the first hit will get 8%. But there's been, like I said, much controversy. And you know what, like I've searched on Google to see if I can find an answer, and I've found a lot of people saying the thing that I've heard as well. So you can see here on Reddit, if you have a debuffer that doesn't hit like Madame Serious in Arena, you don't have that problem. Ruthless works and Single Out doesn't for the first hit. And like I said, ideally kills or close to it. If you have a debuffer that hits like Deacon, then your nuker won't benefit from Ruthless Ambush. And another person says here, does Ruthless Ambush mastery apply to each of your champion's first hits or only the first time the enemy is hit? Somebody says only the first time the enemy is hit. And then another question here, question about the mastery Ruthless Ambush. I'm wondering, with Ruthless Ambush, does it increase the damage for the first hit on each enemy regardless of whether one of your allies hits the enemy before you, or does it only apply if the champion is the first one to hit? And then this person says, going by what it says, increases damage inflicted by 8% for the first hit on each enemy. It is safe to say not each first hit, but the first hit altogether. Edit, tested and found to be truth. I don't know what to believe. So I was like, honestly, it doesn't make sense for this to be only good for one champion and only the first hit for the entire round. So I decided to test it out myself. So I'll show you guys the results of my testing and we'll make our own conclusions. And of course, you can let me know in the comments below what you guys think or have heard, you know, how this actually works. If you guys heard what I've been reading to you guys, let me know. If you guys heard something different, let me know as well. But we're going to do the testing and then, yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, guys, so I'm going to be testing here with Rotos, and then we'll see how his damage numbers do. He is running by himself just for the control test. So he's running Ambush right now. So let's see what his damage is overall. So we got 142. We'll just keep these in mind, right? We'll just keep these in mind right now. So he's sitting at 142. I do a decent sample size to get a relatively high confidence here. So 128. Of course, we could choose like lots of other damage dealers, but I just decided to take Rotos, 135. Of course, having a range is normal. Having a range is normal. We see 128, 131. But we want to see the low and high. So that's basically what we're kind of paying attention to. So 143. So these are all within like the middle parts. We have a low of 128. Keep going here. So 151. That looks like it might be a high. 136. I think here we have relatively high confidence of what his actual range is. It's about 128 up to 151. All right, so that one was 129. $138. At this point, I think we're pretty confident between 128 and 151 with the Ruthless Ambush. And he is the first hit on the Big Mama Spider. So we know that it is being applied. The Ruthless Ambush is being applied. So now we're going to add Sifi, and we're going to let Sifi hit first and see if Ruthless Ambush still applies to Rotos here. 129. That's a little bit on the low, but it's not lower than the lowest, which was 128. So it could be in line. We try it again. All right, 143s. That's in the middle pretty much. So it looks like Ruthless Ambush is being applied to Rotos right now. The 131. I'm going to do a couple more just to see what his range is, if it's still in line with what we initially had as the control, 136. So far it looks fine. Again, you see Sifi doing the first hit, and then Rotos doing obviously the second hit. 131 still in line with what he was doing by himself. 151. All right, let's keep going. 152. Yeah, his range 128, 152 seems very consistent. No change from the control, which was just Rotos hitting by himself. So here we are going to change Rotos' masteries and remove Ruthless Ambush altogether. And then we can see what his damage is without Ruthless Ambush and see if it was working the entire time with Sifi. So we're going to leave Ruthless Ambush out, and then we're going to do some control hits with Rotos here. So no Sifi, just by himself. He's going to be the first hit. See what his damage range is. 120. There it is. It's very obvious now. So this is him without Ruthless Ambush being applied. 126. It's a big difference from the earlier hits where he had Ruthless Ambush on. 139. I mean, like I said, there's a range, but the low range on him at 120 is very big difference. 124. So it seems like it's consistently lower. Consistently lower. Yeah. There we go. I think it's fairly obvious to say that Rotos was having Ruthless Ambush applied to him, even though he was the second champion to hit the spider. So it was never, it was never proven that the spider only, or the enemy would only get the boost on the first hit, and that's it. Okay? All right, so I took it a step further and thought, would Ruthless Ambush apply to multiple champions on their first hit? Therefore, making Ruthless Ambush basically a usable mastery for every champion, not just one champion on your team. So in this test, Harima also has Ruthless Ambush. So we'll see what the damage here is first. We know Rotos' range already with Ruthless Ambush. 142, that's very much in range. We're going to test Harima's A1 here, so 38k. I'll run it a couple times. Rotos going in, 141, very in range. 35k. $149. So without Ruthless Ambush, Rotos was doing much worse. 120, 130 range. We see a 39k from the A1 from Harima. We need to remember some of these. So the range so far for Harima is 35 to 39. 41, so 35 to 41. I think we'll do one more. 27 and 39k. So we know Harima's relative A1 range pretty much here. Let's see what this last hit is. Rotos looks fine, 135. And Harima hits for 40k. All right, here, so we'll remove Ruthless Ambush from Harima. So we're going to change our masteries here. Basically just using the same masteries that we had on Rotos. Doesn't really make that much of a difference. We just don't want anything that has any RNG in it. So we're not taking, for example, Helm Smasher. No RNG. We leave the ambush out this time, and then we'll test the damage range. We know that Rotos is having Ruthless Ambush applied to him. Let's see if Harima had Ruthless Ambush applied to her in that first set of testing. 35, pretty standard hit with Ambush. And Harima showing up with 34. So that's already lower than the lowest that Harima had from the first set. Of course, it could be sample size. I'm going to try it again. 42 in line with Ambush. And then her second hit, 34 again. Again, it could be sample size. We'll try again. It is on the low end, but there is a range, right? Comes in 138. Ambush is being applied to him. 38. Again, a little bit inconclusive with Harima there. And 41. 34. Okay. It seems to me that it's consistently lower because Harima was hitting 40, 41, high 30s. And here the Harima is hitting 34, 34, 38. This one's 34 again. I think it's pretty consistent that Ambush was not being applied. Ambush would make up approximately 3k worth of damage if it was not being applied. So I think overall, this kind of proves that the Harima was having Ambush applied to her as the second champion with Ambush. So that means the first champion, Rotos, is having Ambush applied, and then the second champion, Harima, is having it applied. And Ambush does work individually as opposed to just one. So I think overall, hopefully you guys found this informative. It was a little bit of maybe like a myth almost. I've definitely heard it from many sources, very credible sources too. And obviously on the internet, many people have some issues with it as well. But hopefully this video is kind of significant proof that this works kind of as it reads. And there's any special weird things happening in the background here. All right, guys. Hopefully that was informative to you guys. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Maybe you guys thought the same way that the other posters were thinking. And hopefully this video changed your mind. So let me know in the comments below if it was helpful. And thanks for watching. And see you guys in the next video.